What's up, YouTube? It's the one and only Legend of Winning, aka Low, and Happy New Year's for everyone out there who has been watching my channel and supporting me over the past 12 months. I personally want to take the time out to thank you all for putting me in the opportunity and consistently supporting the channel and my work. Now, with it being a new year, just like we did last year, I'm here to give you all some of my bold predictions. Unfortunately, I don't think any of my predictions last year end up coming true, but this time I'm going to give myself a little bit more leeway since we're going into not only a new year, but also a new decade. I'm going to give myself like 10 years to really have some of my predictions come true this time. So hopefully some of them do come true. If not, you can always put it in the comment section below why I'm wrong, because I'm pretty sure you all get a kick out of that. But before we get into my prediction, let me give a huge shout out to today's sponsors, and they are SeatGeek. SeatGeek is a platform that gives its users the ability to buy tickets to all of their favorite events at a very reasonable price. Everything from the NBA, NFL, concerts, and everything else in between, SeatGeek has your back. Now, when it comes to finding the right ticket, it is super easy. SeatGeek utilizes not only a map, but also a color-coded system, so you make sure that you're getting a really good price while also getting a good viewing angle of whatever you're watching. And to make the deal even sweeter for all the new users out there, SeatGeek is actually giving me a promo code to receive $20 off on your first purchase. All you have to do is type in LOW in the promo code section to, again, receive your $20 off on your first purchase. So go to SeatGeek.com or download the app, or even easier for you, click the link in the description. It will redirect you to the platform itself. Sign up, buy your tickets at a very reasonable price, and use my promo code LOW for $20 off on your first purchase. And a huge thank you goes to SeatGeek for sponsoring this video. Now, my first prediction for the upcoming decade is that the Golden State Warriors are not done. I don't understand why so many people are writing off the Warriors, claiming as if like they don't have any more championships left in them. I think that's ludicrous. With my bold prediction, I think the Golden State Warriors will win at least one more championship. If you look at how this team is constructed, they still have 3 quality stars in Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. And granted, the success is no longer consecutive with this year being an off year for them. But I actually do believe that this year will actually work into their favor, because they will be able to obtain certain assets, reevaluate some of the younger players, and position themselves moving forward to add the depth that they desperately need on this team. Because if anything, that is definitely the biggest concern with this roster. No longer do you have players such as Andre Iguodala, Sean Livingston, David Lee, Andrew Bogut. So yes, I thoroughly understand the flaws with the Golden State Warriors. However, if you trade D'Lo to the Minnesota Timberwolves and in return receive some players, more specifically if you receive Robert Covington, that definitely helps you out, gives you some flexibility at the forward position. Also, by the end of the year, the front office will be able to evaluate some of the young talent that has been able to put up some pretty solid numbers, despite the fact that Curry and Klay more than likely will miss the entire regular season. But more importantly, because this team is just god awful this year, that means that they will have a top pick in the upcoming draft class, and with a top selection, they should be able to trade that off to another team, and in return, they should be able to receive even more players to add to their depth. So in my opinion, the Warriors are far from over with. They still have a lot left in them, and I do believe that can translate to at least one more championship. And furthermore, if you are Curry as well, you definitely want to win at least one more championship. Try to go get you a finals MVP so you can unanimously be named the second best point guard of all time. And speaking of Curry, that actually brings me to my second prediction, and that is, by the end of the decade, Steph Curry will not hold the 3-point record. Yes, I know that sounds a little bit weird, but hear me out. It's actually not too much of a bold prediction, but more so a calculated one, because if you look at Curry right now, where he's at, he's third all time when it comes to most 3-pointers made. However, with him missing potentially the entire season, that's going to hold him back big time in this most 3-pointers made all time race. And because of that, that's going to give the opportunity for James Harden to catch up to him. If you look at the amount of 3-pointers that James Harden has made throughout his career, by the end of this season, he will definitely make up the gap that's in between him and Curry on that all-times list. So much so that by the end of the year, there's a huge possibility that Harden will have practically the same amount of made 3-pointers as Steph Curry has. But going back to my original prediction, the reason why I believe that Harden will end this decade at the top of the three-pointers list is because of durability. During this decade and practically throughout their entire career, I don't think no one would make the argument that James Harden is a better three-point shooter, but because James Harden is going to end up playing more games and be more durable and potentially just have a longer career, that gives him a better opportunity to end off at the top of the three-pointers list. Now, my next prediction is Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid will break up during the decade. Despite the fact that the Philadelphia 76ers set aside a huge portion of last decade to just tank and obtain as many draft picks as possible to build this team that's supposed to be centered around both Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, I believe it's fairly obvious that this duo just doesn't fit well with one another, and at some point is going to become so obvious that even the Philadelphia 76ers front office must make a decision that they really probably don't want to make, but it is one that has to be made if they want to build in the right direction. Now, with that out of the way, I think the more bolder prediction is me believing that out of the two young players, the Philadelphia 76ers will actually keep Ben Simmons instead of Joel Embiid. The reason why I say this is because as great as Joel Embiid is and his ceiling is just ridiculously high, I do believe it's a bit more problematic to have a player on your roster who physically may not be able to play 80 to 100 games within a regular season and postseason run. So where do I think Embiid will land? I honestly believe that Embiid will be traded to the Chicago Bulls. I think the Bulls have a really good young player in Zach LaVine, and I do believe that Zach LaVine and Embiid is a better fit for one another than Ben Simmons and Embiid. And then for the Philadelphia 76ers, you can get a slew of young players, some draft picks, better floor spacing and Lauri Markkanen, Kobe White, and Otto Porter, and again some draft picks as well, because I definitely don't think that's enough for Embiid. But with those players, you have the ability to build a team that can shoot threes, space out the floor, and because of that, that should be able to give Ben Simmons a bit more flexibility in the offense and give him a bit more free range to do what he does best, and that is dominate the ball, attack the basket, and just feel a little bit more free in the offense, which it doesn't really seem as if he is that free playing alongside Joel Embiid. Now, with one duo breaking up, I have another duo coming together with my next prediction, and that duo is Karl-Anthony Towns and Devin Booker. Now, for many people, this may not be that bold of a prediction because you have Karl-Anthony Towns and Devin Booker, who are both budding stars in this league, who unfortunately have been drafted to situations that are just incompetent. And so they're going to waste their first 7 to 8 years playing for the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Phoenix Suns. So naturally, because they're in that situation, as well as them being good friends, it would make the most sense for them to actually get together and form a duo or a potential super team with even D'Angelo Russell. However, what makes my prediction bold is that even though both Devin Booker and Karl-Anthony Towns will be on the same team with one another, I don't think that that duo will be enough to win a championship. And if you're wondering which teams will compete with another team that features both Karl-Anthony Towns and Devin Booker, well, I got a surprise for you, because that is my next prediction, and that is Giannis is going to leave Milwaukee and sign with the Miami Heat. And I do believe if this does come true, man, that's going to be a really, really good team. Now, why have I come to this conclusion? Well, for starters, I think after losing Malcolm Brogdon, I don't really feel as if the Milwaukee Bucks have the same type of offensive firepower that they need to compete against other competent rosters in the league, especially on the defensive end, where opposing teams are just going to play Giannis the same way that the Toronto Raptors did last year. And I'm going to go as far as saying that because they lost Malcolm Brogdon in free agency last year, that will play a huge role to why Giannis will inevitably leave Milwaukee. Now, the team that he's going to go to, in my opinion, is going to be the Miami Heat. I know a lot of Knicks fans are out there wasting their time photoshopping Knick jerseys on Giannis, but I just don't see why Giannis would go to New York, especially because he's not even from the States, so he has no ties with New York whatsoever. However, when it comes to Miami, it seems as if the culture that Miami has built over the past several years really fits in with the idea of who Giannis is as a player. And also, if you look at the team, the Miami Heat have quality young players on their roster. Kendrick Nunn, Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, all great guards who can space out the floor, be very versatile, flexible in what type of position they play. They will fit extremely well alongside Giannis. Also, Jimmy Butler will still be on the team. Eric Spoelstra is still a relatively young coach, so he should still be there as well. But the one thing that really stands out is, financially speaking, the Miami Heat have actually positioned themselves to free up enough cap to actually sign Giannis when he is a free agent, as well as being able to retain all of those young players that I talked about earlier. But even that still may not be enough, because my next prediction is Luka Doncic. Oh boy. That's a bad man. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. And I'm gonna go as far as to say that Luka Doncic, Porzingis, and the Dallas Mavericks, they're gonna dominate the next decade. I'm gonna go as far as to say at least 3 championships. Doncic is already playing at an MVP caliber. Scratch that. He's playing at an all-time level. And those numbers and his productivity are already translating to wins. And let's just be honest with ourselves. No one didn't think the Mavericks were going to be this good, especially because it feels as if this roster was more or less just pieced together at the last second. And then when it comes to Porzingis, he still has not peaked yet as a player, in my opinion. I think there's still a lot of growth there. He's trying to get healthy this season. And once him and Doncic are on the same wavelength, I don't understand how that's not going to translate to multiple championships. So much so that I think they're going to win at least 3 championships. Doncic is going to get at least 2 MVPs, 2 regular season MVPs. And I think that within this next 10-year stretch, Doncic is going to dominate. The Mavericks are going to dominate. And he's going to piece together one of the greatest 10-year runs that we've ever seen in NBA history. But with all that being said, people, as always, please let me know what you think about the video in the comment section below. And also, huge shout out to SeatGeek for sponsoring the video. Make sure you click the link in the description. And until next time, I will see you all later. Peace.